This episode of After Dark is brought to you by Netflix. For a free 30-day trial, head on over to netflix.com/GameBreakerTV. What is up, everybody? Welcome back. It's Tuesday night. We got the Skype lines up, and we're looking to talk to you guys on Gamebreaker After Dark, the show where you guys call in and you create the show, because we're answering your questions all night long. Joining us like he always does, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend. That's how he always introduces me on Legendary, Mr. Josh Allen.
I never introduce you on Legendary.
Well, you don't introduce me, but you always come up with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Mike Schaffnit. Come on. Come on.
I think I usually say something about a yellow dress.
Oh, I forgot about that one. That's true, you do. And joining us tonight to harp on me even more about the yellow dress, it's your favorite Gary Gannon.
What's up, everybody?
Gary, you're rocking the intro over there with your synth.
What's up?
How's it going?
My guitar. I wish I had a guitar.
That's more like a key boombox.
That is. That was a key boombox. I'm gonna get a guitar though someday. I'm actually. You know what a guitar? You know you wear like a guitar, but it's a yes. I'm gonna get a guitar and a gong. I need a gong in the studio. You've
been looking for an excuse to get a gong in here for at least a year.
I have an excuse. We have
now.
a show that's gonna. I'm gonna use a gong. I just haven't gotten it yet. All right. Sorry.
All right, well, after all, this is the show where we jump in and take your calls, so let's turn it right over to you guys. Caller, you're online with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and tell us your question.
Hi, it's Adrian from Canada again. What's up?
Why? All right, I got a question for you, Adrian. Why do Canadians seem to be the only ones calling this show?
I have no idea. We love you that much, I guess.
All right.
There's nothing else to do in Canada. That's what it is.
Is it a Canuck?
Indeed.
Keep going. I just don't. I don't hear them. So when Josh starts talking and making words, we'll work that out.
Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yeah, you'll have about 30 minutes once that starts. So.
All right, so throw us out the question. I'll relay it for Gary so that he can be clued in.
Yeah, just let Josh start talking.
All right. So, Adrian, what's your question?
So I saw the Secret World video of Joel Biles hinting at the Secret World going free to play, or at least having a free to try period. So that got me thinking about subscription games going free to play. So, in your opinion, what's the best free to play model that a subscription based MMO going free to play should use? Because you don't usually see them use free to play with microtransactions because it affects the subscribers, and you have like free to play up to a certain level like Rift, and you have like other bad free to play models like Star Wars. I'm sorry, it's just bad. So anyway, yeah, that's my question.
So Josh, you want to?
Yeah, so the question is, when an MMO goes free to play, what sort of model should they use, right?
Yeah.
Is that okay? I really don't like the freemium model, which is where you have a free to play and you have microtransactions on that free to play, but then you also have a subscription. It just ends up feeling like they have to come up with ways to make the subscription good, but I don't know, it just always feels really, really messy to me when model like that, where maybe you're paying monthly, and do you get everything when you pay monthly? Do you just get, like with SWTOR, you get just an allotment of cartel coins or something? That I feel like if I'm paying a subscription, I should have access to everything. So I don't like it when MMOs kind of bridge between the two and say, we'll still have a subscription, but we'll also go free to play. I think it should be one or the other. I don't necessarily think that a full-on microtransactions model is. It can't work. I don't think that's the. In fact, I actually think that SWTOR would have been perfect if it had gone full on free to play with microtransactions. They have lots of different hooks in the game to actually be able to do that properly. I just don't really like it when I guess that's pretty much what it comes down to. If you're going to go free to play, go free to play. Don't go free to play with the option for a subscription, because that just makes a giant mess for everybody, because you have to figure out ways to make the people who are subscribing still feel like they're getting their money's worth, but you also have to put things in the game that people will want to buy. I don't like that model at all. I think if it's going to go free to play, just go straight up free to play.
You don't like the free to play models when there's a free to play model and a subscription option?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
It makes a mess, because you end up with you have the subscription, and you have to find ways to make the people who are getting the subscription feel like that's okay to them. Like, okay, well, I will pay. There's got to be a reason to subscribe to the game still, but you still need to have a way to make money off of the people who don't pay a subscription. So unless it's just something where there's a free to play option that's just totally free, no microtransactions whatsoever, and then you can upgrade to a subscription, that's one way to go.
That's what I mean. Like,
it.
I was thinking, the first thing I went to start thinking about was PlanetSide's option, and it's $15 a month. The game, and they give you station cash and some stuff. But I mean, I don't know. I kind of like more options. I mean, I think it's good when it's done right. But I guess if your brain totally goes into Star Wars: The Old Republic fail mode, you're
well, no, I mean,
because
I guess, yeah.
And that's where everybody's got their brain out right now.
Because my first thing went to
play.
PlanetSide 2, and I was like, well, I'm kind of okay with their model. I mean, I'm okay with spending station cash if I want to, or maybe, getting, because I kind of like, so what they've done on, if anybody's not familiar with PlanetSide, what they're doing is the more months you stay as a subscriber at $15 a month, the more XP you gain, bonuses you gain over time. So you're rewarded as like a veteran player, which I kind of like that. So it's like, hey, I get the station cash, and if I stay subscribed because I really like this game, I get a little bit more of a perk. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess my issue just comes in when the free to play model, when the subscription ends up feeling worthless. Like, if they can find a way to make a subscription worthwhile that isn't you get X amount of like station cash a month, or you get X amount of cartel coins a month, and that's what the subscription is, plus it unlocks some, I don't know, I guess really at the core, the only thing that really bugs me about models like that is when it does get into part of the perk is that you get an allotment of cartel coins per month that you can spend on whatever. I don't like that perk. That feels crappy to me. It's like, here, you get a little bit of this, but you'll probably need to buy more of them anyway. So I feel like if I'm paying a subscription, I should have access to everything without needing without feeling like I need to pay anything more on top of that. I feel like if a game is free to play, it should just be free to play. And honestly, like, looking at PlanetSide's subscription, I've looked at it a few times, and every time I've just kind of gone, that just doesn't really interest me at all. I would never pay that. So I don't know. Maybe I guess if the subscription is minor enough that people don't feel like it's something they need to get, then it might be fine.
I'm starting to feel like the subscription model in PlanetSide is to curb my spending. I'm starting like, it's like how to put Gary Gannon on a budget, because I've already spent more than I should have for the month. That's for sure.
And that's where it really gets tricky, because then when you end up sitting in that situation, you end up potentially paying more per month than you ever would for a subscription.
Yeah, I think I'm at $50 or $60 so far since the game has launched, and I'm about to re-up at least for another $50. And I don't think it's been a full month. Then I'll be 100 in the hole, basically, for the month.
Well, the other thing that I guess is important to point out about PlanetSide's model is that the game was built from the ground up as a free-to-play game with a subscription option. The question that Adrian had originally asked was, what sort of model should you go to if you're coming off of a subscription model? So you're talking about a game, particularly he mentions The Secret World, but SWTOR is the most recent example of a game that's actually done this. A game that was a subscription model before, just full-on subscription, get access to everything, and then goes into a free-to-play model from there. I think if the game is built from the ground up in a way that it can work with a free-to-play model, then that can potentially work. I just really, really hate it when they try to come out with a freemium model that's like, okay, well, you need to pay this and then also buy things on top of that. If I'm paying a subscription per month, I feel like I shouldn't have to pay anything on top of that.
I kind of agree with that to some extent. I think where a lot of the game companies we're starting to see some cracks in it, and I think where they are failing is, like you said, when a game is designed from the ground up with free to play in mind, and the two things that come to mind are League of Legends and PlanetSide 2. They were able to refine the experience to a point that, and I always go back to this sort of, my big thing is this psychological corner that game developers put you in as far as, what am I thinking at the time of purchase? Am I feeling really good about the game and I'm just so happy to be playing it that I want to spend money? Or am I feeling sort of kind of gimped and the necessity that I have to spend money in order to progress in the game. And that's the difference between when I want to spend money and when I don't want to spend money. And you could see the big difference is I think a lot of the games that are trying to transform from a subscription-based model into a free-to-play model. I'm not saying you can't do it, but I'm saying I think that you can see where it's becoming a little bit of an issue because they didn't have enough time to refine the experience around you just being in a really good place and wanting to spend money on their game. And I think
now you said they, or are you directly pointing towards Star Wars: The Old Republic?
Yeah, with certain things. I mean, I'm not pointing fingers, but to be honest, I'm not even really playing SWTOR at the moment. But looking at certain things like where they're trying to sell you like UI functionality and things like that just rubs me a little bit the wrong way because it's not necessarily like you're in a good position. Like I can't think of any positive experience where I would be. And granted, again, this is like shooting from the hip because I'm not currently playing the free-to-play model. But I can't imagine an experience where you're playing the game and you're like, wow, this is awesome. I can't wait to buy that UI bar.
Well, yeah, and that's why League of Legends has worked out so well in the past. That's why games like Blacklight Retribution, their free-to-play model works well. Even APB, when I was playing that ages ago, that had a free-to-play model that there were problems with the game. There were major problems with the game, but that didn't have anything to do really with the free-to-play model, other than like a couple of overpowered pay-to-win guns that you could get, which I think they eventually fixed. But anyway, I think the real core when a free-to-play model is really good is when you say, okay, here's this game, you can play it for free, and you're going to really enjoy playing this game for free, so that you feel like. Again, I'll use League of Legends as an example. When I buy a skin in League of Legends for the equivalent of like $5 to $10 actual dollars, it's because I enjoy playing that character. And so this totally cosmetic, meaningless thing that I don't need for any gameplay benefit whatsoever feels like a worthwhile investment to me. And I've spent hundreds of dollars on League of Legends at this point. I think SWTOR had a really great option there by putting unique. I forget the exact term that they use for it, but the orange gear that you can customize to look like anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been a great way to, or I guess you just slot things into it. But anyway, I think that would have been a great way for them to go about adding in those sorts of things in Star Wars: The Old Republic. Things like you can only run X number of dungeons per week, or you can only run, what was it, like three battlegrounds or war zones?
3 battlegrounds, 3 dungeons.
That's crappy.
So are games then are games that are launched as a subscription and have to make the shift to free to play doomed to fail at that point? Is there nothing that we can look at because of the? I mean, you guys keep referencing these games that have such a great free to play model, but as we've said, it's because they started with free to play. They're not pivoting.
I think they can do it, but it's a tightrope they're walking. It's a tightrope that they really need to kind of maybe play it a little bit more on the conservative side, initially at least, to kind of set up some sort of positive experience for the player and really embracing the free to play model rather than backlashing at it. And it's definitely not an easy. It's definitely got to be a bit harder when they haven't had all the time and experience setting it up. But I think they can do it. I think there's some models out there that I think work. I mean, I even think like the EverQuest stuff seems to be pretty well done. Lotro's model isn't that bad. They gate some. They do gate some of the experience, which I think in an MMO, in a full-fledged MMO, might need that. I think, Josh, what you're sort of insinuating is that if the game gates any sort of content in any way, shape, or form, you were feeling like a bad taste in your mouth. Whereas with League, you can pretty much do everything and play everything. It's kind of the same thing with PlanetSide. I think with an MMO, I think it's okay if they gate some things to the game.
Yeah, I don't directly have a problem with the idea of gating. I just think like getting so specific as to say, like in SWTOR's example, the point at which you should gate things is not 3 war zones per week. That's too far.
Hey, I did a comparison. Like I went and when the whole SWTOR free to play thing was like the big controversy a couple weeks ago, I pulled up Lotro's list of stuff on their website, and I pulled up the Star Wars list of stuff. And to be honest, we give them a lot of stick. I love that term now. Scott Hawks gave me that. It's a British term, so I want to sound smart. But there really wasn't that. There weren't that many things that were off the mark. There was like a few that we all sort of fixated on and started firing bullets at them for. But it was like 3 or 4 things that seemed kind of a little bit wonky, but the rest of it was pretty much in line with everything else that's out there in the MMO market. And maybe I don't know, now playing devil's advocate, I mean, are we being a little bit too hard on the MMO scene and keep comparing it to like a League of Legends and an FPS like PlanetSide, and it's like it's kind of 2 different beasts?
I think it's not. They're definitely different things, and you have to approach it from different angles. But the core ideas of I need to be sold on the gameplay first before I will spend money on the game if it's a free-to-play model. I think that core idea is still there. So you just need to do things like have a little extra cosmetic stuff. In fact, Guild Wars 2's free-to-play model, well, I guess it's buy-to-play, but their gem shop model is interesting. I know there's been some issues with it, but it seems like Guild Wars 2 is a great experiment in a lot of different ways at once. It's kind of they're trying out a whole lot of different stuff with Guild Wars 2, and I think that their gem shop model can work. I think the problems with the game have more to do with stuff outside that shop at the moment.
And I think the thing is
I'm not playing it.
The thing is with free to play games, you have to feel like you're not losing any part of the game. At least for me, I have to feel like I'm not necessarily not being able to participate in the game by not spending the money to embrace that free-to-play model. League of Legends and Guild Wars, the 2 examples that were brought up. I've yet to spend a single dime on either of those from the cash shop, and I love those games. But
that's because you just play my account all the time.
Well, that as well. But no, I mean it is 100% my personal choice if I end up spending money on those games. Like you brought up a good point. I've got access to your account to play some of the champions for the guides that we make, but I'm still playing on my own personal account. I obviously want those champions, but I'm not putting forth the money. I'm using the IP to buy them because I just don't want to put forth the money into the game for my own reasons. And that is what keeps me playing. With something like Star Wars, where I'm in a situation where I can only run 3 dungeons before I have to pay money, I feel like I'm getting neglected because I'm not putting the money for it.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with how the free-to-play game looks at its player base, too, especially the free-to-play player base. Is someone who hasn't spent money on your game a potential sale or a failed sale? Is pretty much how it looks at it. I feel like SWTOR's model looks at it from the perspective of if they're not spending money on our game, we don't care about them. Someone like League of Legends or PlanetSide or even games like Star Trek Online and LATRO. These are games that look at it and say, okay, well, we'll get them to like our game, and then eventually maybe they will spend money on it. And even if they never spend money on it, it's still an asset. Having players in your massively multiplayer online game turns out is pretty important. So...
word of mouth. I'm sorry. I want to reinforce what you're saying. Is I haven't spent money on League of Legends yet. Doesn't mean I'm not going to go tell a friend that, hey, you should start playing League of Legends so that we can play together, and they start paying because I'm enjoying the game, and word of mouth just got them another customer because I was able to jump in and play it for free. So. Sorry, continue. I just wanted to help reinforce you.
I don't have anything else. I mean,
that was pretty much it. Yeah.
I think the free-to-play model it's here to stay. I like it. I like options. Unlike Josh Allen, who hates options, obviously. I
hate
actually
all options.
I like some diversity. So I wouldn't mind seeing options where there's a monthly sub, and I've even talked about maybe we should see more of. I think is it EverQuest or EverQuest 2? I can't remember which one. They even have a $5 a month option. So they even have another sort of tier. And I don't know, for I think a lot of MMO players who, watch Gamebreaker stuff and watch this show, I think a lot of us are actually MMO players who do play more than one MMO. I like some of those options. As long as they're fair. As long as they're, when they're fair and they're good models, I think it works. But I'm kind of embracing and love the fact that you can jump into so many more games than you could 2-3 years ago without spending a dime. And playing an amazing experience. PlanetSide 2. Yeah. There's a quote.
I just hate options.
SOE does another quote. It's an amazing experience. Put that in your next trailer.
I was at the drive-thru earlier, and I was ordering a value menu, and the guy was like, "You want that medium or large?" I just drove off.
Just drove right off.
Don't give me options. I don't care.
None. All right, let's start out to another caller and shift gears here. So caller, you're in the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and tell us your question.
Hi, my name is Dan Costelli. I was a guy who sent the giant Final Fantasy question last week to you, Schaffnit, and
Yes.
I'm from
I was so happy. I'm so
Bellingham,
happy that I
Washington.
get questions that
What?
I can just totally shut Darnell and Josh up for like 10 minutes so that I can go on a rant.
Is this a Final
Send
Fantasy
more.
question?
Hopefully it is.
This is not a Final Fantasy question. This is a question that I need your guys' help on. I'm really in need of a new PC, but everybody tells me just to build my own for my guild. Problem
Don't
is,
do
I
it.
don't know jack shit
Don't
about
do it.
computers. I really
Don't do it.
I
Don't-
push
don't-
the on button.
Don't
and
do it.
I
man,
can't believe you're telling me not to do it when we built mine.
Yeah, don't do it anymore. It's not really worth it anymore. I have been building PCs for like I don't even know. Since I got a 46, I've been building them. And for so many years I would have said absolutely build your own computer and buy all the parts. There are so many options now for good gaming PCs that don't really gouge you. You can find really like I sat and priced like the last one we did, the last one we bought here for the studio. I sat and priced out a machine, went and looked. I think I paid I don't know. I'm making a number up, so I'm completely lying right now. Is basically what I'm saying. But it was like $100 more that I was paying for this pre-built PC, and I didn't have to like think about anything, and it worked.
Well, real quick.
And I hit the power button, and when it's not that moment when you're putting your motherboard in and you screw it down, and you're like, is it gonna post? Is it gonna post? Is it
that
gonna
was
post?
awful. I was back
it's
there
not
for, like,
posting. Why is it not
6
posting?
hours.
You know how many hours we spent building your computer?
So
How many
many.
hours did we lose?
So many.
I would, 5 years ago, I recommended. There used to be, I feel like there used to be a really big price differentiation between building your own and buying. I don't see that gap as much anymore.
Well, hang on. What's your price range? What's the price range that you're looking for? What are you looking to spend? I said it 3 times.
sorry, it's Skype sometimes cuts on my end for some reason, but
what's
right now I'm
your
just
price
saving
range?
money and like probably around maybe $1,000, maybe.
See,
I can probably go more. I'm saving 4 months. It's like
1,000
not
is
till
plenty.
April.
I think
1,000 is fine.
that's more than
For a solid
enough for a
machine.
gaming PC, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you can go to like iBuyPower. They make great stuff. I would definitely stay away from like the Hewlett Packards.
Oh yeah.
Stay away
For
from
sure.
that stuff because they load them up with crap software. But I feel like for $1,000, you can go to like iBuyPower and probably buy like a sick i7 with like a nice graphics card and a terabyte. It'd be great.
Yeah, I would say shop around. I like options.
Oh wow!
Unlike
Flip
Gary
flops.
Gannon, who hates having options, I like to have options. So no, I would say shop around a bit and look and see. Just price out what the parts you want are going to be. A site like PC Part Picker is
But
actually
he doesn't
amazing
even.
for
But he
that.
doesn't
I
know how
love
to
that site.
build a PC. Why would you
Here's the
tell
thing.
him?
No,
Okay, no. But I struggled with it. How many I was just complaining. We probably spent at least a full 24 hours trying to get my PC to work. However, from someone who had never built their own PC before then, now that I've finished, it's a lot easier than it seems.
Josh has a plan. I don't know.
Plug him.
Josh
It's-
has a plan.
I-
If something goes
Can
wrong,
I finish
you're
my damn
screwed.
sentence?
Josh
No.
has a plan. He's a man with a plan. What is it?
Price out what the parts you want look like. Okay, what parts do you want in your computer? What sounds good? Okay, figure out, and it doesn't have to be exactly precise. Just be like, okay, I want an i7. I want or i5 even. You don't need an i7 for just gaming. This is what I want. Price that out on a site like PC Part Picker. Then go look around sites like iBuyPower. That's a great one that Gary recommended. There's a few other ones out there. I think Doghouse Gaming Systems. I've heard good
Doghouse is
things
pretty
about
good.
them as well.
Yep.
Yeah. There's a few sites that you can find, and find something that looks like what you just priced out. And then you can know. Then you can make a good guess on yourself. You can say, okay, look, is it worth the extra $50, $100, however much extra it's going to be, for me to have someone else build this? That then, if it doesn't work, I can say, excuse me, fix it, and just have them take care of it at that point. Or do I want to just look at it and figure it out from this? Is this an amount that am I just not able to find a PC anywhere near as good from what's available right now? I would say that's probably the best route to go, is price out what it's going to look like if you buy all the parts yourself, then look at the prices for getting that in a pre-built configuration, and look at the price difference. So then you can decide, is this an amount that's worth it to me? Is this an amount that I would rather just build it myself? Because honestly, it's not terribly difficult to build your own computer. It's stressful, but it's not hard. They make them pretty much idiot proof nowadays. You kind of just can't put anything in the wrong spot anymore. So like I built my current PC after not having built, like, I hadn't done anything more than upgrading a video card in probably about 10 years. That's how long it had been since I built a PC at that point.
Because you're playing
And
WoW.
it was no problem. Yeah, pretty much. Well, and my PC before this one was an Alienware that I spent entirely too much on. So
Yeah, see, that's the thing. There are those companies out there that like completely, I don't want to use the word gouge, but, you know, charge insane amounts of money for things where if you priced that out and bought all those pieces, it would be like a fraction of the cost. I do agree, but I think there's some people. Chat room's talking about Newegg a lot, and I think Newegg does offer a bunch of pre-built machines that I think are, and that's I love Newegg. Been using Newegg for years and years and years, so that's another good one. I guess the other really good option would be is if you have a buddy that maybe can help you and or you're not afraid to tackle it. Newegg does have some awesome pre-packaged like bundles where it's like, you know, everything is separate. You have to build it, but they just kind of put it all together, like, you know, lump a whole you know, they give you a motherboard, a case, a PSU, like all the parts all together, and you just kind of make one decision and you buy it. Maybe have a buddy, maybe give them like $50 or something, or a 6-pack, and see if they can build it for you, and maybe you're good.
You know what? I got a solution. Just go buy an Apple. Buy a Mac. That's what really.
Yeah, because then you don't have to worry about playing games anymore.
So yeah, I mean, I guess what it really comes down to is price it out, know before you buy, and go with the cheaper route. If it comes down to it's worth it to save the money, it's not as difficult as it might be. Coming from someone who's never built one before, you can do it. There's plenty of guides on YouTube, and if you can find something that's significantly cheaper, I'd say go with that. Otherwise, as the other advice has been, you might be able to find a deal where it's already built. Let's start out to another caller and keep this show going. Caller, you're on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and enjoy this nice free Apple logo.
Hey, Mike. It's Rich from Breckenridge.
Rich, you call almost every week. Not every day, every week. I corrected myself.
I enjoy this. It's a highlight of my week.
So what you got for us this week, Rich?
Aside from Gary's Apple logo there.
I'm a huge Apple fan. The new MacBook Pros, by the way,
but everybody's
boot camp with
free to
Windows.
chime in on this one, but since Josh last week, you said if Blizzard were to make Starcraft Universe, you would be done. How would you see that fleshing out? Obviously, you got the potential for 3 factions with the 3 factions that exist already. But obviously, the Zerg would be the most difficult one to flesh into an MMO style thing, or even if it was an FPS, it still would be difficult.
Yes
how do you
and
see
no.
that playing out?
Yes and no. The Zerg typically have been a race that's been hard to sort of like. Am I a Hydralisk? Is that my class? I'm a Hydralisk. But Heart of the Swarm is doing a lot to sort of make more personable Zerg. There's like obviously there's Kerrigan. There's a queen character that's actually a character. They do actually. It's not like Kerrigan's just wandering around and like, okay, here's what we need to do, guys, and everything else is just like the whole time or everything. There are actually other characters that she'll talk to in the campaign. I think depending on how Heart of the Swarm actually fleshes out the Zerg as a actual race instead of just like a bunch of monsters, I think we might be able to tell a lot from that. That being said, it definitely would be the hardest race to actually pull off. I wouldn't be surprised to see it be something where if they do come out with a Starcraft Universe or a World of Starcraft, if Protoss aren't playable, then I don't care about it. I don't care about it if Protoss aren't playable at that point. I'll play it, but I'll be upset. I don't see them going just full on Terran, like everybody's Terran, and then the Protoss or the Zerg are just there as well. I think the Zerg could be something that they have. Just some sort of development where maybe the Zergs start to mutate humans, and then there's actually a strain that's based on humans, because that's how the Zerg work. Is they find other strains of DNA, they mutate them. So maybe based on Kerrigan's DNA, that's now part of the swarm, maybe they actually start growing their own people. Maybe everybody can be Kerrigan. I don't know.
Like cockroach.
I imagine there's ways to do it. Blizzard hasn't really ever shied away from telling the lore to shut the hell up in the name of getting good gameplay out there. Yeah.
All right, let's throw it over to a Twitter question that's been sponsored to you guys by Audible. For a free 30-day trial, be sure to head on over to audible.com/Gamebreaker. You guys can get a free audiobook and free 30 days. Gary, you actually got some good things to say about Audible. You've been using it, haven't you?
I have amazing things to say about Audible. I love Audible.
That is so amazing.
No, I've been a subscriber long before they came on the show and the network to be a sponsor. So I was super happy. Like seriously, I think I checked my account. I think it's about 4 or 5 years ago is when I registered. So I have quite an extensive library. I love. You know what I love? I love it for two things. I love it for a lot of great fantasy books and sci-fi books that have great narrators are awesome. I've talked about Snow Crash. There's some Neil Gaiman stuff on there that's awesome. But then I also really love it for like technical stuff. Like I love kind of facty kind of books and things to learn things. I like that as well. So
do they have every book voiced by Morgan Freeman?
I'm not sure, but I'll look into that and I'll get back to you.
All right. So this next question is brought to you guys by Audible. James B. Evans wants to know. What do you think about Peter Jackson paying out of his pocket to film The Hobbit at 48 frames? Some say it's too detailed.
Oh my God, I'm hearing major failure. All right,
I've actually
major failure.
I've actually already talked to some people who have actually gotten to see.
That's where my info is coming from somebody who saw it. So
yeah, I'm not hearing very good things about The Hobbit.
I am hearing the way it was described was it looks like a Mexican soap opera. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing great story, great acting, all the things you would come to love from a Lord of the Rings movie, but 48 frames per second absolutely looks like crap. I have not seen it, but I cannot fathom why they would want to shoot it at 48 in this hyper real. I can only imagine it has like this very hyper real video look.
Supposedly it's supposed to help with the 3D. It's supposed to help enhance the 3D.
F that. 24 is like it's romantic. It's not real. And when I go to the movies to see a fantasy film, I want to get taken away and swept away. I don't want a Mexican soap opera.
And I think that's part of the problem is for people who maybe aren't in the video savvy world, gamers specifically were like, 60 frames a second. We can record fraps at 60 just fine. But what you guys have to understand is if you've ever grabbed like a video camera that has capabilities for changing frame rate and turned it up to 60, it doesn't look natural. The eye can only perceive at 24.
The closest thing it looks like old crappy like video cameras, like crappy VHS cameras when everything looked like video. And then
it looks like
they called it video.
Broadcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's because that stuff is not. That stuff is shot at a higher frame rate. It's totally different. That shot. I don't get it. I don't even. I have to go see it. But I'm contemplating whether I kind of want to see it in 3D. I do like 3D though. Like I do like going, especially like IMAX stuff. I love going to like 3D IMAX. I think it's awesome. But I'm kind of like bouncing back and forth. I mean, we have a lot of digital cinemas here, and like the cinema that I go to really close to the house is like a sick arc light with like digital display. It's awesome.
It's the best thing.
Right.
Ever.
It's amazing, and I have to go see it there. But I know it's going to be a digital print, and I've heard that they already have frame reels going out to other theaters where you can go see it on film. And if it's on film stock, you're going to see it at 24 because they can only show that. And I'm like, I almost kind of want to just go see it at 24.
Yeah, the thing that it's supposed to make it feel like you're actually there, right? Like that's the idea. And I haven't seen it either, so I'm going to reserve final judgment on it until I do get a chance to see it. If I ever get a chance to see it in 48 frames per second, I don't even know if it's showing in anywhere near me where I'd actually go to. But the problem with feeling like you're actually there and having things be so detailed that you're actually there is that then all of the props look like props.
Yes.
All of the CGI looks like CGI.
And I don't want that. I don't want to be there. I want the fantasy, right? That's why we watch it. I want the fake.
So then real quick, all right. What happens when MMOs push into virtual reality? Full dive systems get integrated, and you can actually be immersed into the MMO. Does that then push the realism too far?
There is a huge difference between being fully immersed in a fantasy world that is reacting to you and you are actually doing things in compared to watching something else. For example, if you in the case of something, if it was a full-on, well, how do I put this? If it was just like 100% CGI, if it was like a cartoon or something at 48 frames per second,
It would look fine.
you probably wouldn't notice as much.
Yeah.
It'd look a little bit cheesy, but like, because I've seen, I was walking around a Fry's once, and they had like one of those super high frame rate TVs on sale that nobody ever bought because everything looked terrible on it. But it looks a little bit cheesy, but in the case of playing a game where you're doing things and they're responding to them, people like to have things be more reactive, and that's how you feel when you get like a higher frame rate. Even the difference between 30 and 60 frames per second, you can notice when you're actually playing the game, because things will just feel like they respond more smoothly. So I think in an actual sort of like virtual reality sort of system, that would be fine. I think people would be totally okay with like 60, 100, 2,000, however many frames per second you can actually throw at them. I think it's just when you're sitting back watching something, it feels less immersive. And this is partially, too, just because everybody is so used to 24 frames per second at this point that you just notice something is different about it. It's like you say, you're sitting there, you're going, something's weird here. Something is wrong. Even if you don't recognize that it's the frame rate, you sit in there going, this is different than when I watch movies usually. What is wrong with this movie?
3D was different for a time. We've come to learn to accept 3D.
Because it finally got good.
True.
It used to be like crap in like the 80s and 90s. 3D was terrible. I'm going to totally go off on a side tangent, but did you guys watch the Superman trailer today? Holy crap.
I know, I'm too jaded. I'm way too jaded by Supermans. I've tried and I've tried and I've tried, and they've always let me down. Is Kevin Spacey gonna come in and Superman have a kid? And
come on, man, I'm
way
so
too jaded.
happy.
Way too jaded.
But you're like an animated. Tell me the comic book fans out there for years I
work with a bunch of them.
Shut up. The comic book fans for years and years in the 80s and 90s were screaming like, please make film renditions of these comic books that are taken seriously with a serious tone. And they never were. We had these crappy films about comic books like back in the day. And finally, they're just creating them with a serious tone and bringing them up to date. I don't know. I thought the new Superman trailer looked awesome.
But is that Nolan's doing?
Well,
he's of what Nolan did with, because obviously he's producer. So is it just because Nolan's attached to Superman that we're getting this serious tone? Because now they're trying to do with the Justice League what they did with the Avengers. So just because Nolan's here doing Superman, that doesn't necessarily mean we'll see the same thing. They're all done really good.
Like Iron Man is awesome. Like, you not like Iron Man? Come on, Josh, you like Iron Man, right? Come on, you're with me.
Yeah, I liked Iron Man.
Come on, it's comedy.
I like the Avengers. I like Iron Man. I'm a pretty big Marvel fan. I don't like DC's stuff. It's just I'm not looking forward to the Justice League. That's going to be boring. Like, maybe like Batman's usually okay, but like Superman, no,
all right, we're gonna move on because then Josh and I are just gonna fight because I was more of a DC fan than a Marvel fan, so we'll just go. Marvel was a bunch of magicians in spandex and just like fluffy colors and Dark Knight.
Sorry, were you describing Superman? That's what I heard.
All right, let's start out to another caller and keep the show moving. So, caller, you're on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and tell us your question.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can. We heard that burp. That was a nice one.
All right. My name's George. I'm from New Jersey.
Hey, I'm from New Jersey.
What's up?
I'm gonna be in New Jersey on Thursday, bro.
First off, I just want to say,
can you hear me?
Thanks, Mike, for introducing me to SAO. It's an amazing show.
It is.
Oh my god.
How far have you gotten? Real quick, how far have you gotten?
I'm on episode 23.
So you're in the second arc. I'm not going to go into too much details because we'll get back to your question, but I'm worried about the longevity of it based on the fact that they're swapping topics way too much, and that's all I want to go into. But I'm concerned, but I love it nonetheless.
Yeah. All right. So for my question, and it's good that Gary's here because he did a hit on this for Gamebreaker.
Hey, we're in New Jersey.
Now that we have some information on Final Fantasy 14 since Alpha's out, what do you guys think about the game, and is there anything you would change if you had an opportunity to?
I'm not talking about Final Fantasy 14. Next question. Thank you. I'm out.
Go watch his
out.
rant on Twemo.
I'm
I
out.
don't even know it was a rant, but man,
I say
Gary won't touch that with
I
a
won't
12-foot
touch it
pole.
because anything that partially remotely is somewhat critical of the game is just completely. I'm out. I'm not saying. I've said too much. I've said too much, Josh.
Already.
I think it's gonna suck.
Ah! I think it's
No,
going to be the best thing ever. Now I'm going to get on the love on this episode. Go Final Fantasy.
I want it to do well. I don't know anything about it. I just said that to troll. But no, I don't see it going well. An MMO reboot, they've got a lot of bad press to overcome to actually be able to pull off what they need to with it. Even if the game ends up being good, I think it's screwed at this point.
Really?
I don't know that it can actually recover from it.
See, I'm with you. This is something I know. I know everybody who watched and commented on the last This Week in MMO. All like, I don't know, 90 or 100 of you. I actually want the game. Josh is making me laugh. I actually want the game. I do want the game to succeed. I don't know where this like sentiment of we want to see the game fail. I never want to see a game fail. I know there's a lot of you should go look at this and you should go look at that. And you should go read this and you should go read that. And to that I say and this isn't a marketing thing. And to all of that I say no. Square Enix put out a video. That is marketing. Whether you want to believe it or not, it's marketing. And I will take it for what they put it out for. And I don't know. I kind of don't understand like why. I understand why any gamer doesn't really want to hear like bad stuff about their game. But
try telling people that Guild Wars was not going to be the second coming back when we were in hype mode for Guild Wars 2.
Yeah, but I just think it's okay to be somewhat critical. I mean, especially Final Fantasy 14 when we were all screwed in the first round. Why should we not be hypercritical of what they're putting in front of us? Like I'm over like hypercritical and looking at everything with fine tooth comb. Like, yeah, I'm pointing out that he's a clicker. Yeah, I'm pointing out that he's like blazing through quest text.
Yeah,
I think. Can you judge? All right. So can you judge the way that a game plays based on the fact that he's clicking?
No, but I can point it out. And to that, but
that's got nothing to do with the game. But here's a perfect example. The person who's playing.
Here's a perfect example where I can be complete. I'm not saying that the game is going to be bad. I was merely pointing out things that I was observing the video that they put out on YouTube. If you look at PlanetSide 2, I have been screaming from the rooftops. I mean, you just hear me talking about it constantly of how great of a game it is. Go back 4 or 5 weeks before PlanetSide came out, or like 2 months, and look at the episodes where I was commenting about the videos that they were putting out from the team, and I was like, these guys need to go back and do better work. That the videos were terrible. Some of them were awful. They didn't reflect the game. So what I'm saying is, I'm not in the alpha, so I'm not playing it. I'm hearing actually really good things about it. It could be great. What gets me is if it is great, then you should be able to create videos and put marketing out on the internet that is just as great and communicate that to the audience. Don't leave that open window where I can start to hammer you for it and everybody else can look at it with a critical eye.
Well, the biggest problem that the biggest thing right now that Final Fantasy 14 that's going to affect the success of the relaunch of Final Fantasy 14. Nothing to do with the game whatsoever. Nothing to do with the game at all. Maybe if the game comes out and it's complete and total crap, then sure. But it really doesn't matter how good the game actually is. What they have to do is convince everybody to try it again. They have to convince all the people who go, people like me who go, Final Fantasy 14, that game was terrible. They got to convince me to try it again. They have to be doing a lot of work right now to make sure that everybody wants to actually even give it a go to begin with. Doesn't matter if your game is great if nobody wants to play it because the previous version was terrible. So when they do put out stuff, it makes me... Sure, it doesn't have anything to do with the final version of the game. It doesn't have anything to do with how the game's going to actually play. But it does have a lot to do with whether or not the game is going to be successful. If they put out content and they say, hey, here's a preview, here's a sneak peek of our alpha content, and you're looking at it and you're going, this looks like every MMO out of Asia for the past 40 years.
And
Because that's how long they've been making them there.
And
apparently.
Josh, what's interesting, like I said, I'm hearing from people that it's really good. I'm hearing some really good things about it. And like I said, I wish they would. It makes me angry because I wish they could communicate that in their videos to people if that is actually the case. People in chat room are talking about Guild Wars 2. Guild Wars 2 is another. I think the game's phenomenal. I love the game. When they came out with that trailer was crap. The trailer was crap, and we called
the one
it and said it
with
was
like
crap.
the people like
Yes.
turning into oh my god.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I had forgotten
Alright.
about that.
Yep. Exactly.
I forgot about that.
So did we all. We tried to, but I just brought you right back to that misery. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. It's like
Glad I
this is
could
the MMO equivalent of losing the game.
And here's the one other thing is I think that honestly, like if this was as probably one of the biggest self-proclaimed Final Fantasy fans on the network, I think that I'm entitled to say that I don't think Final Fantasy has the name that it used to. The single player RPGs have not been doing so well in terms of public reception. And I don't think that people, personally, I don't understand why people so blindly feel that just because it has the name Final Fantasy anymore, that there are high expectations for it to be good, which is kind of where I feel that a lot of it comes from, is a lot of people are just so hardcore of the idea that it's Final Fantasy and they can't get beyond that.
Right, but it almost sounds like you're saying that people can't expect a new MMO to be good. Like, I think no matter what, there's standards of quality that don't have anything to do particularly with the company. Like, this is an indie game. Sure, great, it's an indie game, but if it's an indie game that sucks, it's still a game that sucks, right? If it's Square putting out a game and it sucks, then it's still a game. Like Blizzard put out Diablo 3 and it sucked. And everybody was like, oh my god, Blizzard, how could you put out a game that sucked so much? I don't think who it is. I mean, I do agree that Final Fantasy doesn't really have the name that it used to, but people still do kind of hang on to it as though it's every new Final Fantasy game that comes out is going to be the best thing ever. But I think there's definitely a lot to be said for the fact that if a game is bad, it doesn't matter who puts it out. If a game doesn't work, it doesn't matter. If a game is good, it doesn't matter who puts it out. Unless it's EA, in which case you are actively supporting terrorism.
All right. Let's start out with another caller and keep the show moving.
The views of Josh Allen are the views of Josh Allen solely and not of those of Gamebreaker.tv. I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you very much.
All right, let's start out to another caller and keep the show moving. So, caller in the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and tell us your question. Ask us your question.
Hey, it's Mike from Winnipeg.
Yo, you sound like you have the tone that you've called before.
I have actually. I asked the last time Gary was on the show here about the Borderlands 3 possibly being an MMO.
I think that was when he almost broke the show.
So I have called once before.
Wonderful. All right, well, welcome back.
Here. There's a lot of different MOBAs that are around that I actually play most of them. And so like there's League of Legends, Smite, Dota 2, Heroes of New Earth, Super Monday Night Combat. I just learned about Awesome Knots recently, and I'm loving it. And there's also Blizzard All-Stars that I think is in production or whatever the case. So I'm kind of wondering, why isn't Twee MOBA a show on Gamebreaker yet? You know, like as in this week in MOBA.
Oh wait, he's down here.
Considering that there's like a lot of games that are out there that are in that genre, and there's a lot of people that play them, and they have their own little quirks and nuances, and they have new heroes coming out all the time and new items, and I'm just kind of curious why you don't have a little bit more coverage on that as either a separate show or, you know, maybe a little bit more in Tumo.
Because go ahead.
No, go ahead. You want to, if you want to answer.
Because the second you have a show where people from League of Legends are walking it, and you say Dota, everyone hates you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's basically the reason. You can't do a MOBA show without there being just complete fighting. It's just so hostile. If you tried to put a couple hosts together that like played different MOBAs and they tried to talk to each other,
MOBA communities are so
it would be
mean.
a complete disaster. Could you imagine like one League player, one Han player, and a Smite player trying to have a conversation? It would be just terrible. It would be terrible. Yeah. So all we have OMG LOL, which is a League of Legends show that we do weekly about the drama of League of Legends, which is doing really well. So if you haven't checked that out, go check that out. And hopefully in 2013 you'll see more shows that do cover. I do want to do a Dota 2 show.
And I mean, I think that's the thing that he's getting at is it would be tough, like you said, with all these new people and new skills and abilities. It'd be hard for them to intermix and talk, I think, about MOBAs as a whole. But specifically, there's definitely room for focused topic shows.
Yeah.
Based on what's going on.
So, hopefully we'll have a Dota 2 show, a Han show, another League show. We'll have specific shows on those different things with hosts that are experts on those games, and
Yeah.
I'll wonk a horn and yaka yaka, and we'll be all good.
Yeah, if you're sitting there and you're on, if you try to put together a this week, and lots of people have tried it in the past and had the same problem, so we're not just talking out of our asses.
My
here.
co-host on OMG LOL, Four Court Jester,
Yeah.
Sean Delaney. He was telling me about how he used to do a MOBA show before he was doing OMG LOL. I said, well, how'd you like it? And he's like, it was a disaster. And I'm like, why? And he's like, because you just have like three guys sitting there in a circle, all with their E-pins out, just trying to like one up each other constantly about how their game was better. And they would just like fire just trolly comments back and forth at each other. There was no camaraderie. It wasn't like really like a good show. Like, let's make a great show. It was like, your game sucks. No, your game sucks.
Well,
your game sucks.
And even if you have hosts that are all on board with each other, if you grab hosts that are interested in all, like if you say we're just covering the big three, which what I call League of Legends, Dota 2, and Heroes of New Earth. Even if you're just covering those, then you still and you have people who are on board, maybe they play all three and they're following like the esports scene of all three. You can start talking about like, oh, Na'Vi, they did so well at the international. Then you turn around and you're like, oh man, but CLG EU isn't doing so well, and half your audience just immediately tunes out. They just don't care anymore.
Yep.
Is the thing. I'm not interested in this. MOBA players are not interested in more than one MOBA.
And that's
Just
actually, and you know what? It even actually, what's kind of interesting is it folds over into MMOs, because this week in MMO is not even close to our top show. We see more of the other shows on Gamebreaker, like Legendary, Guildcast. The shows that are specific about games are more popular than Twimo. It's the same thing. It's because there are a fraction of the community that play a bunch of MMOs and watch This Week in MMO, but most of them actually kind of like get into one game and stick with it. So we're here for niche content. We're here for you, Internet.
All right, let's load out to another caller and see what else we can get going. So, caller in the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're from.
Yeah, hello.
Yow.
No,
You were excited. You didn't even let me get to the end of my sentence. That's all right. You can go.
Just one second. What the?
It's all you.
You're cutting out there, Mike. You're cutting out.
Go ahead. No, yeah. Go, shoot us out your question.
Anyways, my question is, given the lineup of things coming out in 2013, like the 50th anniversary of Doctor Who, Pacific Rim, Man of Steel, what do you guys think about some of these things, especially like Josh with Doctor Who's 50th anniversary?
I need to bow out right now because I'm just going to get made fun of for how young I am.
I don't totally understand the question. It's like,
I don't either.
What do I think of things in 2013? Well, it will certainly be another year.
Like, how do you feel about like the Doctor Who 50th anniversary? What they've got, some of the stuff they got planned for it, or
what are they planning for?
Del Toro's, Pacific Rim and giant robots fighting giant monsters.
That sounds.
This sounds incredibly awesome.
I don't know enough about.
I don't know about this subject, but it sounds incredibly awesome, and I kind of want to know more.
I haven't. I'm obviously I'm up to date on Doctor Who at the moment. I don't go to Doctor Who news sites to look up the Doctor Who news ahead of time. I like to wait until I don't. I've gone to him a couple times. It's always been like, oh, we spotted this guy on the set, so maybe the Master's returning or something like that. And I always feel like that kind of spoils the show for me. I don't like to know that stuff ahead of time. So I don't really research too much of stuff ahead of time. I didn't even know it was the Doctor Who 50th anniversary until, and it's like my favorite TV show, but I didn't even know it was the anniversary was coming up until you said it. So,
well, and this is what's getting exciting. We actually had a Twitter question kind of along the same lines. Saren said, Mike, are you planning anything special for your most holy of B-days, December 18th, Final Fantasy turns 25? And honestly, I didn't know until you sent this tweet. I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, but I didn't realize it's turning 25. But what's exciting about that is when I saw this, I started thinking, it's kind of fun in terms of it being a sign of age. I know I'm still 12 years old, but Zelda just hit its 25th anniversary. I can't remember which other like major console game is kind of hitting an anniversary now, but like it's really kind of fun to look back and see these grand games with huge, expansive, like just experiences of a lifetime hitting these age and still having them out there and alive. I mean, Final Fantasy is such an incredible story because the reason, for anybody who doesn't know, the reason it's called Final Fantasy is because that was it. Square was going out of business. They're making one last RPG. They made Final Fantasy. It revived them. And now we're up to 25 years of Final Fantasy.
Was that XIV?
We could only hope.
That's and it's exciting. It's exciting to kind of see that these generations of gaming are becoming these epic scales of grandeur. I don't know.
It just makes
Maybe?
me feel old. That's all it is to me. People are
Games
like
do, like-
Mario, yeah, he just turned like 38, and I'm like, damn.
I had the realization over the weekend that I have been playing MMOs, like always been involved in a MMO for 10 years. In a few years, I will have been playing an MMO at like in my point in life for longer than I have lived. That makes me feel old.
That doesn't make it. How could you have played an MMO for longer than you've lived?
In
There was a math error
in terms I've been you're taking it too literally. I just mean
that is what you
I,
said.
I said it too literally, but what I meant was that I've been playing
Oh,
an
you meant
MMO
unliterally.
consecutively for 10 years. And at some point
So
there's
you're
going to be a
8?
tipping point. All right, I'm done. Moving on.
No, but you know what? You know what I think?
Trying to make conversation and no one's biting.
You know what I think is funny? You know what I think is interesting is that games do something to people that like a lot of other mediums don't. We were talking about films before, and people. I mean, I think a lot of people talk about old films and stuff, but I don't know. You don't see people sitting around going like, "Man, I just cannot wait for the experience I felt like when I first saw Blade Runner. I can't wait for that again." But gamers sit around all the time and they're just like, "Oh my God, when is that EverQuest experience going to happen again?" Had so many memories of Star Wars Galaxies. It's kind of bizarre, right? Like there's so many different, there's so many layers of attachments and memories and experiences attached to games that don't happen in other forms of entertainment. It's actually, it's kind of an interesting thing. And I think that's why, like when these like big milestones come up and you're like, I can't believe Final Fantasy's 25. I don't know. Like, I guess I kind of think that sometimes with films as well. Like when Blade Runner came out and did like the anniversary thing, like I went and saw it at the theater and it was a big deal and stuff. But there's not many, like you don't be like, wow, War and Peace. That was, you don't sit around like get all nostalgia. Man, I remember the first time I turned the first page of War and Peace. It was a life-changing experience. I've been reading that book longer than I've been alive.
You actually probably could read that book for longer than you've been alive.
Probably. Game of Thrones. All right, moving on.
No, I'm going to make it awkward for you guys now, too. All right, caller, you're on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and tell us your question.
Hello, I'm Eduardo from Mexico.
I'm sick of you calling. You ask the craziest of questions. I'm
Eduardo from Mexico.
I'm prepping myself.
It's Eduardo from Mexico on the line. Why do I do this? Mexico.
Racist.
Okay, this week I have a question for Josh.
Uh-oh.
Just Josh.
So,
Get him out of this.
yeah, yes, Josh. So, what is your secret for having such beautiful hair?
Oh, luxurious, isn't it? It's like summer rain just dripping through.
Like a glorious lion's mane.
I've actually had the experience to smell it. It's unbelievable. You have to come to BlizzCon because it's fantastic. It's very clean. It has like this fresh rain, summery smell. It's beautiful.
I so want to make sweet love to Josh's hair.
This is the same person that was asking if EA is a controlling boyfriend. Eduardo, you need to call every week. Every week, we need a question from you.
I'll try.
Eduardo, where are you from?
From Mexico City.
Mexico City. How far is that from Mexico?
It's right in the middle.
Dude, can you
This
tell
is
me
so
tell me
awful.
a Mexican story?
Sorry, I lost my.
Josh,
Thank you.
tell me a
Yes.
story about your luxurious hair.
All that's left of
He's
Josh
gone.
is this hair.
He's completely gone.
I was
I don't
hiding,
even-
damn it. This is weird.
All right, so Josh, the secret. If Gary was in this chair, he would load up a Soul Glow commercial.
Remember we used to play that? We gotta bring those back. I need the cart machine back to play little clips.
Josh, what's the secret to your sexy hair?
Tinfoil.
Oh.
Damn.
You know what the crazy thing about Josh's hair is? Like, one of those curls is actually so long. Like, his hair
Oh, yeah.
is so long. It's you can pull one of those suckers. Like, look at that! Look at that thing. It's crazy.
Yep.
It is crazy.
All right, let's start out to another Twitter question while we wait to get someone else on the line here. Stewie over on Twitter wants to know, hey guys, I'm a college student getting ready for winter break. Any game suggestions while I'm on break? I've been out of the loop.
PlanetSide 2.
Gary's going to scream about PlanetSide 2 some more.
Sorry.
I'm going to bring up the VGAs real quick. I had not heard of Journey until the VGAs, which was nominated for Game of the Year, and I think it won Best Adventure Game. Have you guys played Journey at all?
Wait, the indie game?
Yes,
in
for
the
PlayStation.
desert?
Yeah.
How do you?
I don't know. Completely
How did
missed
you
my
miss
radar. I
Journey?
completely missed it, but holy cow, I played that game over the weekend. Blew me away. If you haven't played Journey, it's well worth the money.
Yeah, that's by the Santa Monica company.
Santa Monica and that game company.
Yeah, they do. They did do Flow, but they did
Flower.
Flower. That was it. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a fantastic game.
It was amazing.
That's
Didn't they do?
Absolutely amazing.
Didn't they do Don't Stop Believing?
Don't stop believing.
You had to get him started.
Mhm.
I don't know. Any other games that have come out recently that you guys have heard?
What?
Anything? Have you guys heard about any? I mean, it depends on what kind of game you're looking for. I've heard really good things about Halo 4 if you're into shooters. Assassin's Creed was really good if you're into the kind of the action-y kind of adventure game on console. If you're looking at MMOs, I mean, obviously a lot of the games that we've been talking about here, Gary will sing about PlanetSide. If you're a World of Warcraft veteran, try out Mr. Pandaria. There's Star Wars that's free to play at the moment. There's a lot of stuff out there.
XCOM is great. I played a bunch of XCOM.
I haven't played XCOM.
I didn't finish it. I need to finish it, but it's awesome. I think I got like about 3/4 of the way through it. It's great. It's a great game. If you want,
Anything out of the box, just real quick, anything that we haven't maybe talked about that someone maybe hasn't heard of that you guys would recommend. I called Journey, so I did my part.
yeah, but everybody's heard of that except you.
Well, whatever.
doesn't-
I don't care. I've been living in a box.
There's some game called
Daisy
PlanetSide 2.
Standalone.
It's not out yet. Daisy Standalone is not out.
It's coming soon though. So if he's talking about for winter break, it may actually be out.
Coming soon. I mean, I was talking to him about it at E3.
No, I mean it's like he keeps saying how he wants it to come out by the end of the year, and he hasn't said otherwise yet. And it's now 2 weeks out from the end of the year, so it's not far along by any stretch of the imagination.
FTL's a big hit.
FTL, yeah, definitely very, very good.
FTL, definitely very good.
I'll echo PlanetSide 2 again. Blacklight Retribution, if you like your shooters to be a little bit more fast-paced, and it's also a free-to-play, so there's that going for it too. Let's see, what's another good? Torchlight 2. If you haven't played it yet, that one's been out for a while, but it's still very, very good.
I didn't fall in love with Torchlight 2, which I know is crazy. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for that, but
I liked it because I was mad at Diablo 3. I think that was
they
part
did
of it.
really well because of that, didn't they? Like a lot of people were just kind of like
Yeah.
PO'd at Diablo, and it's like I want a dungeon crawler, and I liked those games when I'm playing with a group. And we did a couple episodes of gameplay with it, and we didn't keep playing it, so that kind of like left it on the back burner.
Hawken beta. I believe the open beta started today. Either that
Did
or
it really?
tomorrow.
Ooh.
But that's another one that's really. It's not for everyone, but it's definitely a very, very solid game. I like it quite a bit.
Loving the question you just asked about, like, hey, what should I play? We just start vomiting at the mouth, like every game possible
should
that
I
we know.
play?
Everything. Get a list here. We're gonna start going. I'm just everything that's come out in the past 6 months that's worth talking about is worth it.
Everything.
I'll just bring up a game called PlanetSide 2 again. It's free to play. Just saying.
All right, let's start out there to another caller and see what you got to say. So, call your line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and tell us your question.
Hey, I'm Clifford Von Anderson III from Texas.
The third. I'm a junior. Does that count?
No, it doesn't.
Sort of. Well,
All right.
You kind of touched on it earlier, but I was thinking with TSW going free to play, you think it could revitalize it, or do you think it's just too late for that type of game?
Is it confirmed? Do we have confirmation? We covered this this breaking story. I think it was yesterday.
Yeah, every time I hear about the Secret World going free to play, it's immediately followed up by Funcom saying, "No, we will never go free to play."
Would free to play revitalize TSW? I think they still have a pretty tough road ahead of them, even at free to play. I don't think it's going to be that easy to get a lot of people in there. With that said, I think if they go to free to play, everybody watching this show should absolutely play it. And no, they're not paying me, but maybe they should, because I do think they created a great experience. Like I really, really, really think they did something cool. It's not a perfect game by any sense to me, by the word, but if it goes free to play, download it, play it. You should play it. That's all I gotta say.
All right, let's.
Josh, you had nothing to say about that.
Nah, I have not messed with the Secret World that much beyond, like, I played the open beta a little bit, or I guess it wasn't even open beta, but I played the beta a little bit, and then I noticed that it had EA attached to it, so I stopped bothering with it.
Wow, you're one of those guys.
You are like hardcore anti-EA.
I refuse to do anything involving EA anymore.
Really? You're like totally on that train? Wow, you're such a hipster.
Not really on a train. It was a decision that I came to after I watched them ruin enough companies. I just decided I was done with it. I didn't want to give them my money anymore.
All right.
Why wouldn't you blame the companies though for making the deal? Didn't they kind of ruin it themselves by making the deal and then maybe,
It still all boils down to EA's involvement. So.
Not necessarily.
Like it's still. So should I just not buy things from companies that have signed deals with EA? Is that what I should? Because that's the same thing at that point.
Good point. Good point. All right.
All right, let's throw it out to another question. We got 2 more left, and we need to get ready to get the show wrapped up. So, caller in line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name, tell us where you're from, and tell us your question.
Hi, this is Michael from Chicago.
Chi-Town, gonna be there in a week. So excited. How's the weather? Real quick, how's the weather? Is it cold yet?
Freezing.
Schaffnit, let me guess, you know somebody from Chicago, right?
I live close to Chicago. Yeah. All right. Lived in there for a while.
You live in like East Bumble F.
I am super excited
Illinois,
to go home for the holidays.
On a farm.
Anyway, all right. Sorry, I had to get prepped for this. All right, so what's your question?
You're from Chicago, right?
Whatever. You did the same thing when you were on the show the week I couldn't come in.
So actually, what's the wait? I have a question. How's the weather in New Jersey? That's what I'm wondering. Because I have to go to New Jersey in 4 days. So
well, you should have asked when the guy from New Jersey was on, because you know what? Behind the times. Now we're on a person who's from my area, so just back off. This is my interrogation here. All right, Chi-Town, yo. All right, what's your question?
Okay. So with virtual reality integrations like the Oculus Rift, the Wii, and 3D Vision, how can you see those things being integrated or used in MMO/RPGs?
SAO.
In the next 30 years, I don't see it.
No.
Nah.
Not even fit nerds turn the grind into.
Don't we have like some crazy like eye contraption like every like 4 to 5 years? 3D glasses kind of became the thing for a while. I bought into this whole thing like as a kid growing up, and virtual reality, and then you had the glove, Robbie the Robot. Now it's Oculus. Isn't it the same thing, Josh? Like, isn't it just...
Yeah, I've heard a lot about the Oculus Rift. I've yet to see anything about it that actually makes me interested in it. It seems gimmicky to me. It seems as gimmicky as the Nintendo Wii. The best games on the Wii were the ones that you played like it was a regular controller.
I think the thing is like MMO players just like want that point where they just want to go to, they want that sort of like Matrix experience. They just want to jack in. Somebody's going to like stick a needle in their arm. Push them with some sort of drugs and like a virtual reality helmet, and they can turn off like real life, and they're just like, F it, I'm off this rock. Like I'm on another planet. Forget it. That's what everybody's looking for.
That's why everybody
think
should go
that'd be
watch.
nice.
I don't think it's happening.
But it takes a lot more than glasses to pull that off.
Yeah, I agree.
I got to stay off this topic because I'm just going to nerd out about anime. So I hope it goes there. I really do.
What do you mean you
excited.
hope it goes there? You hope you can like play
full dive, like a full dive system where you're literally like immersed in it. Now, I mean, it's the reason why I really am excited by this is because there's been at least 2 animes that I've already mentioned that pull it off, and it just seems like such a fun and expansive. It's scary to the extent of how much you might actually lose yourself in terms of reality. But I think an experience like that, where you can literally transport your mental frame into a physical avatar and play the game like that is I don't think we're anywhere near being able to do that. But just that being able to experience a MMO like that would be absolutely fantastical and would be a ultimate step for MMOs in general.
It might work if it's in 48 frames per second, but if it's in 24, I'm totally not there.
All right, let's throw it out to one last Skype caller. Caller, you're in line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name and tell us where you're from and tell us your question.
Hi, my name's Jeff, and I'm from New York.
Jeff, I grew up right outside of New York.
Dang it. So, do you ever think that PC and console games will be developed independently? So console games aren't dragging them down. We don't have these crappy ports, kind of stuff.
I was gonna say, because aren't most games, if I'm correct, they're built for the Xbox and then ported over to the PlayStation and PC, correct?
That's
just because of how crazy obsessive Microsoft is in terms of.
Well, it's also
licensing and
because
stuff.
the Xbox is the hardest. It's the farthest behind in terms of tech at this point. So they need to make sure it works on that one, and then they'll port it to other stuff. But yeah.
So do you guys think we'll see an end to the porting at any point and see PC games kind of get made for their own devices?
For the big Xbox type games? No. Nope.
Why not?
It's
because it's
cost
too big
prohibitive.
It's too big of a market. Consoles are still the biggest fish in the pond.
Yeah, well, and not even just from the perspective of do we just not develop games for consoles anymore? Because obviously lots of games come out that are only on PC. But from if it's a console game and they want to make a PC version, they're just going to port the console version because that's way cheaper than redeveloping the entire thing from scratch. You might get a good port.
But I was going to say, are you playing? Excuse me. Are you playing like PC ports that are really bad lately though?
There was a couple of them. I know the Dark Souls PC port. I heard a lot of complaints about that one. Borderlands 2 was a PC port that went over pretty well, but Borderlands 1's PC port was not that great. Looking forward to Trials. Let's see if they can make that one work. There's only like 2 things to do in that game, so if they actually you drive thing and you have custom tracks. I mean, I guess there's the custom tracks, but
what was wrong with the Dark?
I feel like
I don't know. The Dark Souls port was really bad. I don't know. The game just made me want to like stab myself in the face with a pencil over and over. So
Dark Souls.
I played it. I tried playing that on PS3.
I feel like more companies have learned that they have to put more effort into making PC ports when they actually make them nowadays, and I feel like the PC is sort of coming up in terms of gaming again. Compared to, obviously, the larger market is still console because that's where the Call of Duties and everything, the Halos and the Final Fantasies make all their money. But I feel like it's getting better, but we're not ever going to get to a point where people just straight up say, we're gonna make a version of this game for the PC, but we're gonna completely design it from scratch. Now that would be a huge waste of resources. They'll just port, and maybe we'll get a good port. But it'll be a port.
I didn't realize that ports still had like a really bad stigma. I haven't really played a PC game that felt that bad. But
it's only a stigma if you mention that it's a port.
Oh.
That's what it is. Like people still feel like, it's a port. But if you just say, it's Borderlands 2, but I'm playing it on PC, then people are like, okay.
All right, one final question brought to you guys by Audible.com for a free 30-day trial. Make sure, guys, head on over to Audible.com/Gamebreaker. You can get a free audiobook right now. So this question is going right over to you, Josh. What do you think? Dan Titley wants to know, who would win in a war of dominoes versus Glub Glub Space Fish?
Wow. Domino's, because it's pizza and I'm hungry.
Dang! Call them right now. They are not still delivering over here anymore. Dang it, why can't we do this show on Friday? Josh
It's 2
Allen,
a.m. here. Excuse me.
you're just SOL. You can follow Josh Allen right there at Devolore, DEVOLORE. Josh, what you got coming up for us this week?
I have a bunch more stuff for Just the Tip. I've got tomorrow's game is actually very Super Meat Boy-esque on a smartphone, so that'll be interesting. Weekly Marmot, PST.
There you guys
Legendary.
go. Head on over to TankSpot to check those out. And Mr. Gannon, you can follow him right here at Gary Gannon. We should just change his handle right now to Mr. Keytar. That about does it for Mr. Gannon. Catch him right here on Gamebreaker. And you can follow me right here at Mike Schaffnit. Be sure to follow at Gamebreaker TV for all of your video game related news, MMO, MOBA, PC. We cover it all right here. So be sure to follow us and check out our websites, www.gamebreaker.tv. Guys, thank you so much for watching. After Dark cannot be done without you. So remember, every Tuesday, 9 p.m. PDT, the lines are open and we're taking your calls. So be sure to tune in next week live if you haven't caught it yet. We'll see you guys next week.
Did I get my 9th PlanetSide 2 reference in? Because they only pay me if I get 9 in.
Well, that's 7. You might need to do it 2 more.
PlanetSide 2, PlanetSide 2, PlanetSide 2, PlanetSide 2.
Oh.
All right, I'm covered.
All right, good.
Drink more Ovaltine.